Hi, I'm Elaine Boddy and welcome to my Podbite, sister podcast of the Foodbod Pod. And in this episode, I'm doing something a little bit different. Usually it's just me in my kitchen talking to you about what I might be making. But in this episode, I bring you an addition to our previous long episode. So our last long podcast episode was all about pizza, where I welcomed Scott Deley, superstar pizza maker, into my home and my back garden with his wood-fired Ooni oven to give me a pizza lesson. So we were shaping dough, we were playing with sourdough dough, and he was taking me through how to cook pizza in an Ooni. So I do hope that you had a listen. If you didn't, please do check back. It's a great episode. We love Scott. We've had him on the podcast before and he's a great guest. And we went on to make a Detroit deep pan pizza, which is made in a slightly different way with a focaccia dough and topped with an amazing cheese crown called a frico. So that's what you're going to hear now. I hope you enjoy it.
This type of pizza is called a Detroit style pizza.
Okay, so we've got a deep rectangular pan.
So this is a Detroit pan. So this is a dough, a high hydration 80% dough, basically a focaccia dough.
You've already par-baked.
So you par-bake it initially. So what that does, because the toppings with Detroit pizzas can be quite loaded and quite heavy, you can put whatever you want on it now.
So it's not just because you were bringing it here today. You would typically par-bake
I would always par-bake it. Traditionally, when Detroit pizzas were invented, and if you go to the original Detroit pizzerias over in America, they actually don't par-bake them.
And I asked you to make this because I see you posting these, and they have these most amazing edges to them.
Yeah, so it's called a frico. So it's almost like a cheese wall, a spiky cheese wall. This is not something you want to eat if you're on a diet or you're watching your cholesterol levels. So it's pure cheese. Yeah. So
okay.
It's not a healthy pizza, but now and again it's okay.
Okay.
So we've par-baked the dough, and then we re-oil our pan because it's important to oil it because that will help us release the frico from the edges because it can be quite difficult to keep it.
It ends
intact.
up like almost like a filigree crown edge.
Yeah.
I think they look amazing.
I'm going to keep it quite simple with this one. It's like the margarita version of the Detroit. It's called it's called a red top.
Right.
But then I add a couple of elements to it afterwards to just jazz it up a little bit.
Okay.
So all we do first, we oil the sides, and then it's just a case of on with the cheese, and then it will go in the oven. And
so this is grated firm mozzarella.
So this is just normal grated mozzarella that you can buy from the supermarket, and it's actually, I found, a real effective cheese to give you that frico edge.
Okay.
What you could mix it with some grated cheddar,
right,
which is nice as well.
Okay. Even though that's going to add extra oil, that's all right.
It is, but yeah, you wouldn't want to just use cheddar.
Are you about to feed that down the side?
Yeah. So basically, you just load it up around the edges, and then because there's like a very, very slight gap from
when it's been par-baked and cooled.
It's just shrank.
So the cheese is feeding down the edge.
So it'll fall down the edge.
Oh my word!
Like you say, there's quite a lot.
My thighs are getting bigger just watching. That's a lot of cheese going over the top.
It is. But what you want to do, you want to almost like press it.
Press it up against the edges.
Up against the edges.
Okay.
That is it.
That is
all. That is all you're going to put on, because everything else goes on.
Afterwards.
Even you could put the tomato sauce on now.
Okay.
There's no reason why you can't, but traditionally it's called the red top, and it's like 2 vertical stripes of sauce.
Does that not make it go a bit soft where it puts it over the top?
Not really, no, because you've par-baked it and everything. That structure is held. I've got some recipes of this in my book where I've used a lot of toppings, and because you've par-baked it, holds its structure. With the oven, flames completely died down in here, which is good. We don't want roaring flames.
Okay.
We may want a little bit of flame towards the end, but that's at 400 degrees, which is about right now. So we're going to put that in.
Okay. All right, so this is a glove thing.
Yeah,
this
so
isn't
always, because you're putting it in and out, always use your gloves.
so this is really heavy-duty flame
Yeah.
retardant gloves. And you're just going to place it in, so you don't use the peel on it or anything?
No, I'm just going to place it in. There's no set time really for this. You're just going to judge it by eye, rotate it if you need to. I would imagine this is probably going to take between 5 and 7 minutes probably.
I mean, we're still not talking a long time here because you've got a high heat.
In terms of total bake, par bake, you would probably be looking at the same amount of time. But one thing I would say when you're par baking the Detroit dough, it can be useful to put a lid on it. Right. So with these pans, you get stainless steel lids because if you've got a flame, it protects it from burning.
So did you par bake it in the Ooni, or you par baked it in the oven?
I par baked it in my home oven using a piece of steel.
So whilst this is cooking then, what's next for you, Mr. Deley?
So I've been really busy recently doing lots of different things which have been really exciting. Pizza competitions, content creation, events with you at Cotswolds. It's been a really busy period of time, but the next exciting thing I've got coming up is again something with you. So I'm going to be running a pizza course, a masterclass at Matthews.
We're doing it at Farm Ed?
Yeah, at Farm Ed.
So I am hosting a food tour for Christopher Kimball's Milk Street in the States. It's a 5-day food tour which incorporates the Cotswolds and London. Scott's just pulled out the Detroit halfway through, and my word.
Can you see it starting?
Yeah, we've already got some edges going on.
So I've just given that a quick turn. I'm going to put it back. I'm going to leave the door open because I think the heat's probably just a little bit too fierce at the minute.
Yeah, as part of the food tour, Scott's going to be making pizzas.
Yes, I'm going to be doing like a masterclass, start to finish, making dough from scratch, and then we're going to be using the Farm Ed's got a really cool big wood-fired oven. So we'll be teaching how to cook the pizzas as well. So yeah, looking forward to it.
It's going to be a really good week because the guests are flying in from wherever they're coming from, and they're going to be at Farm Ed visiting the farm, having a farm walk and seeing where everything's grown. They're going to be going to the mill at Matthews to see where all the grains are milled and turned into a flour, and then coming into London and doing some classes with myself and Sophie Carey. So we've got some sourdough, we've got some other kinds of baking. It's going to be 2 full days at the National Bakery School, and then we have a final day when everybody can book one-to-one time with Sophie and I with any questions that they've got. The first time we're doing this next spring.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
And hopefully it might be that we then have some repeat dates. So yeah, it's
I'm looking forward to it. Although I've done things like this with you, it's the first time I'll actually be doing a proper class.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so...
Well, I've got to be honest, it'll be the first time I'm doing it with 12 people.
Oh yeah, definitely, that as well.
So how are we looking?
Yeah, so you can see it's starting to brown.
Wow. So do you want the surface fully browned? Will that happen?
Not fully, but we want it, it's not quite melted enough.
Okay.
So we'll probably leave that in just for a couple of extra minutes.
I think those gloves are really important on this one.
Yeah, and you can get grippers as well to help you.
But looking at them, that's not your standard oven gloves.
No, these are actually from Ooni, so these are designed to be used at these high temperatures.
How long are you going to need to let that cool down before you can put it back in your car?
It always depends on the temperature outside. Probably half an hour before you can handle it. Ideally, you want to be leaving it longer, really. Probably an hour, I would give yourself.
I mean, with these wood-fired ones, if people are thinking of taking them somewhere for a picnic or something like that, they've got to allow that time.
You've got to factor it in. You can't just turn it off and it's cooled down. Like you say, we're talking high temperatures, and although they are really well insulated and the surfaces themselves don't get mega hot, I would be leaving it an hour. This is cooked now.
Right, so out it comes.
So
oh my word.
You can see it's nicely browned.
Yeah.
All the edges are nice and laced and brown.
How on earth are you going to get that out of there?
We're going to just leave it a couple of minutes just to cool slightly. You don't want to go straight in there. It's starting to just, as it's cooling,
yes,
it just starts to edge away from the surface of the pan.
Ever so slightly.
So it only needs a couple of minutes. I mean, the tricky bit is the initial getting the spatula in enough without damaging it.
We're calling this a spatula, but what we've got really here is, you know, a very thin metal scraper.
Yeah.
purchased from possibly a DIY store more than a kitchen store.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's definitely not from a kitchen store.
This is about finding the right tool for the job.
But again, it's finding something that works.
Yep. What Scott's going to do is use his special metal spatula to start to ease this away. So all of that kind of edgy, lacy, filigree cheese you've got around it, you've got to try and do it without breaking it.
If you get the pan grippers, they can be quite useful because you can hold the pan quite sturdy.
Okay. It's going in. So you want to.
So you inevitably, when you first go in, you're going to
break a bit of cheese.
You are going to break some off. There's no getting around that. But once you're in, what you'll be able to see.
Oh wow!
So I'm in there now.
Yeah. So we've got the scraper between the pan edge and the cheese.
So then you can gently ease the rest of it away.
This is a man that's done it before.
And then you know you're clear.
Wow. So we've got one edge away.
So you've done one edge. Always start in the corner. But again,
and it's all just staying together. But it's a very delicate process of finding that separated part between the cheese and the edge of the pan, easing the metal spatula in between the two so that you separate it. And I guess then you get this long spatula to feed in and lift it out.
If you get it out too soon, before it's cooled enough, you'll take it out and the cheese walls will actually start to
subside.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it needs to be cooled enough so when you take it out, it's going to maintain that structure. But I can tell we're onto a winner here.
Okay. So you're just easing it up.
You're just easing it up without.
To go, wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So this is what I wanted to see, was how you ended up with this. So we've got these really sharp edges, these real corners from the cheese. Oh, it is like filigree. If you think of a crown or something with
that's
beautiful
what they call it.
edge.
It's called the cheese crown.
And that makes sense. I'm not going to put it on my head, but that makes sense. It is a crown.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
That's as good as really you're going to get.
You can breathe now.
Yeah. but again, it's almost like there's always an element of pizza making, depending on the style, that is the key bit, the scary bit. Like with Neapolitan, it's that sliding your peel under for the first time and not breaking or tearing it. Whereas this, it's all about gently easing out the crown.
So you could just serve it like that?
You can literally
full on,
do.
But then you do add toppings to it.
Yes, the traditional is a red top, which is all you do now is add the sauce. So it's 2 vertical stripes down the middle.
Just standard pizza sauce? Just
standard pizza sauce. I use a thicker sauce compared to what I would with a Neapolitan. So I would add a bit of tomato puree, a bit of oregano, a bit of garlic powder, just to give it a bit more
oomph and flavour.
And a bit thicker in texture. After the sauce, we've got some burrata cheese.
Oh, so you've already taken that out.
So I've taken it out of the skin, and it's
you've
nice
stirred it up. Oh.
Yeah. So basically, with this, I'll do 4 dollops of burrata, tear some basil on, and then some honey. I always used to use chili honey or hot honey.
Yeah.
And then when I was in San Francisco and we went to this famous pizzeria, and I was talking to him, and he swears by honey, just standard honey.
Okay.
And I tasted it, and it was just so nice.
So you just got a squeezy one that makes it easy.
just a normal honey.
Okay.
So again, this is something that I'm really anal about, these stripes.
Here he goes,
But again, it's just 2 vertical stripes.
Oh, okay, so it's quite thick. I was thinking a couple of thin lines.
No, you want it quite thick because it just
basically we've got a couple of lines of tomato sauce.
Yeah.
Okay.
Without the sauce, it's like anything. It's probably a bit rich. Depending on how many squares you slice it up into would be how many dollops of burrata. So we could probably slice this into 6.
So we've got dollops of the lovely creamy insides of burrata.
So then it's just a few
basil leaves, and you're just tearing them up and sprinkling them. We've got the red, white and green.
Yeah, it's the Detroit version of a margarita.
You can really smell that basil. So now it's drizzling right across everything with some honey. Wow.
And there you go.
That is a masterpiece. Wow. Are you going to cut into this most amazing, fabulous piece of looking thing?
So I just want to cut into it really to show you just how light.
It looks heavy.
Yeah.
But it probably isn't.
The dough is super light. So
Okay.
it's actually easier to eat than you would actually imagine.
I can see now why you use your kind of curved rocking knife. So you're cutting right across the middle, lengthways.
So then we'll just go back across.
Wow, it's really light.
You can see how light. I mean, it hardly weighs anything. For
It's
saying
really
how much
light
cheese,
dough.
the dough itself is just so. You can see
Yes,
how soft. It's
really.
almost like a sponge. It's so light and airy, and
Yeah.
although very thick, it's
Yeah.
when you first bite into it and eat it, you're just surprised at how opposite it is to how it looks.
Can I just say thank you?
That's okay. It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing. It's been so much fun.
Thank you for having me. It's always good
I've
fun.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been good.
And that is the end of our pizza making time with Scott. I really, really hope you enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed welcoming him and his oven to my back garden. The dog enjoyed it, which you will see if you watch the video. My husband and son thoroughly enjoyed all the pizzas that we made. And it was just great to learn from him and to have a lesson in the pizza dough and how you handle it, how you shape it well, and then to see how you make something so completely different with this Detroit pizza. So I hope that you will not only have listened to this episode, but also the previous episode about the other pizzas we made. Watch the full thing on YouTube, and you'll find the recipe for my pizza dough on my website. For now, thank you for listening.